This happened about 15 years ago when I was around 20. My friend's family owns a cabin deep in the Canadian wilderness. The cabin has been in their family for generations. It sits at the end of a long dirt road completely surrounded by thick forest. There are no nearby lights, and the cabin doesn't have electricity, running water, or even insulation. It also doesn't have a bathroom. There's an outhouse about 20 meters away, surrounded by tall pine trees. To get to it, you have to walk through a narrow path even at night with only a flashlight. We used to visit the cabin on weekends and holidays to relax and enjoy the quiet. And over the years, some strange and unsettling things happened there that we couldn't explain. But then one time, something so terrifying happened it left us completely shaken. One weekend, after a series of strange events, we convinced our girlfriends to come with us so they could experience it too. We arrived at the cabin around 8:00 p.m. on a Friday night. We unpacked the car and got ready for a storm that was on the way. We lit a fire in the cooking area and started making dinner. Everything seemed normal. So we called it a night and got ready for bed. My girlfriend and I chose the room near the stairs that led to the second floor. It was small but cozy, just enough space for a bed and a few shelves. My friend and his girlfriend picked the room near the main entrance. It had a better view of the forest. Before turning in, we carefully checked all the windows and doors to make sure everything was secure. The cabin can feel a bit creepy at night, so we always made sure nothing was left open. The main entrance is on a screened-in patio, which gives a little extra protection. The screen door has a latch, but it can only be locked from the inside. So once you're in, there's no way to secure it from outside. We latched the patio door, locked the main door, and left the key in the lock from the inside, like we always did. Around 3:00 a.m., I woke up. I heard the front door creak open, and the screen door slam shut. The screen door has a spring, it always bangs when it closes. I checked my watch, it was just after 3:00. I figured maybe my friend had gone out to use the outhouse, but the weird part was the storm. Outside there was heavy rain, loud wind. It didn't seem like a good time to step out. I waited. About 30 minutes passed, still no sound of anyone coming back. So I grabbed my flashlight and stepped onto the screened patio. The wind was howling, rain was pouring. It was hard to see anything beyond the trees. I walked to the far end of the patio and aimed the flashlight toward the outhouse, hoping to catch a glimpse of my friend. I called his name a few times, no response, just a storm. Then I noticed something strange. The front door was unlocked, and the screen door was unlatched, even though we had definitely secured them both before going to bed. My heart started racing. Someone had been outside. Someone had opened those doors. I grabbed the baseball bat I always kept nearby and stepped out into the storm. I made sure not to lock the door behind me just in case my friend was still out there. I made my way to the outhouse, opened the door, shined the flashlight inside. It was empty. No one was there, no sign of anyone. I hurried back, locked everything up again, and checked the house. It was completely quiet. No one was awake. In the back of my mind, I kept thinking maybe I had locked my friend out. So I went to his room just to check. But when I peeked in, he and his girlfriend were both sleeping. In bed. I was confused, but I went back to my room and tried to sleep. The next morning, I saw my friend and his girlfriend outside. We started getting breakfast ready. I was standing on the patio when they came back in. My friend looked at me with a strange expression. He asked, "What was all that about last night?" He told me I had come into his room, sat on the corner of the bed, woke them up, and started talking about his Uncle Bob. He said, "I told you we were sleeping, but you just kept saying how Bob wouldn't be a burden anymore." Then he asked, "How do you even know about Bob? I never told you about him." I was stunned. His girlfriend confirmed it. She said I was in their room for about 20 or 30 minutes, then just got up and left. I told them the truth, that I had barely opened their door for a second to check if my friend was in bed. And that was it, because I'd heard the door open in the night. Later that evening, we all drove back home. Our girlfriends were no longer skeptical. They finally believed us about the strange things that had happened at the cabin. That night, around 10 p.m, my friend called me. He sounded shaken. He said his grandfather had just called. His Uncle Bob had passed away, the time of death, around 4:30 a.m. It was so strange. We had apparently been talking about him just hours earlier. As a side note, my friend's family has owned that cabin for generations. His dad once told me that the land it sits on is known for strange paranormal activity. Over the years, they've seen objects move on their own, heard voices, footsteps, and other unexplained sounds in the night. I always thought the stories were just family legends, just campfire talk, but after what happened that night, I wasn't so sure anymore. When I was around 13, my best friend Claire and I went to summer camp for a week. We had been going every summer for 3 years and it had become a tradition for us. But this was our last year, so we wanted to make the most of it. On the final night, the camp organised a big party for everyone. You could watch a show at the outdoor theatre, play volleyball or basketball on the courts, build sandcastles or play other games in the sand. The main attraction was a huge inflatable water slide. Claire, our mutual friend Aubrey, and I were all playing on it. After we went down the slide, I got really excited and wanted to play tag or hide and seek. I ran toward the middle of the camp where I had to go under one of the buildings. From there I could choose to go straight toward the arts and crafts area, turn left toward our cabin, or turn right toward the dining hall. I ran to the right and hid under the stairs near the dining hall. It was dark and quiet there, and I thought it was the perfect hiding spot, so I crouched down and waited, listening for any footsteps or voices. After about 15 minutes, I started to think they had given up, but I felt a little confused. They weren't far behind me, and they should have seen me turn right, so I got up and went to look for them. When I finally found Claire and Aubrey, they ran up to me with worried looks on their faces. "Where did you go after the cabins?" they asked. I felt really confused. I told them. "I didn't go to the cabins, I ran to the dining hall." They started laughing nervously and said whatever joke I was playing wasn't funny. I promised them I was telling the truth. That's when Claire explained what they saw. She said they had chased after me and reached the middle of the camp. There they saw me running to the left toward our cabin. It's a 2-story building and our cabin is on the upper floor. Claire said she saw me running up the stairs and both she and Aubrey rushed after me trying to catch up. But then Claire noticed something strange. She couldn't hear the sound of my flip-flops hitting the steps even though I was running right ahead of them. It didn't make sense and it gave her a weird, uneasy feeling. When they reached the top of the stairs, I wasn't there, but a younger girl from our cabin was sitting in the hallway drawing on a piece of paper. She looked up at them and asked, "Are you looking for Sammy?" They said yes, and the younger girl told them I had just gone into the cabin room. There were 2 rooms on the 2nd floor and ours was the one closest to the stairs. Claire and Aubrey walked in and saw the restroom door closing as they entered. Claire called out my name, saying they had found me and asking me to come out already, but they didn't hear anything. They looked around the cabin, checking every corner. I wasn't anywhere. They even went into the restroom, but I was still missing. At that point they went outside, confused and worried. They figured I must have somehow run past them without them noticing. I felt a chill run through me. I asked Claire if she was lying. I made her swear she wasn't. She was my best friend for 4 years, and I knew she wasn't good at lying. She could never hide the truth. It made the last night of camp really scary, and I didn't know what to think after that. Claire and I drifted apart, and we haven't talked in about 3 years, but now I want to ask her about it again, because I know I went right toward the dining hall, but Claire and Aubrey saw me turn left toward the cabins. They couldn't have mixed me up with someone else, because Claire and I were both wearing the same blue one-piece bathing suit. And B, the younger camper in the hallway, had also seen me run into the cabin. About a year ago, I got an Alaskan Malamute puppy. It was one of the happiest days of my life. I had always wanted a dog, and now I finally had a buddy to share adventures with. I imagined us hiking through trails, camping, and travelling together. But when fall arrived in Iowa, the cold weather made camping outside a little less appealing. So I started looking for cabin rentals. After hours of searching, I found a cabin in Wisconsin on Airbnb that felt perfect. It was deep in the woods. The cabin had everything I could ask for: a nice hot tub to relax in fast internet, a pool table for fun, and a kitchen that looked perfect for making meals after a long day of exploring. The cabin was beautiful and it didn't cost much to rent. The first time I stayed there, I had a wonderful time. It was just me and my dog. I took it easy, went hiking, cooked a nice dinner and slept well. I only stayed for one night since it was a short trip on my day off from work. When I got home, I told my friend Martha about the cabin. She got really excited and wanted to go there with me. So we planned a visit for the night before Halloween. It was just Martha, my dog, and me heading to the cabin. That night was full of fun. We cooked a delicious dinner, relaxed in the hot tub, and then decided to watch scary movies. Since Halloween was so close, I had a little too much to drink and started to feel a bit lightheaded. While I was standing in the kitchen, I thought I saw Martha dash down the basement stairs. The stairs were just a few feet away from me. For a moment I froze. It was so clear that I could have sworn it was her. But when I turned to glance at the living room, there Martha was, sitting calmly on the couch, focused on the movie. My heart raced as I tried to make sense of what I'd just seen. A chill ran through me and I couldn't shake how freaked out I felt. But since I'd been drinking, I told myself it was probably nothing, just my imagination. We stayed up late laughing, watching movies, and eventually passed out. The night felt normal after that, and nothing else seemed out of place. But the following morning, everything changed. What happened that day made me a true believer in the paranormal. Now, before this, I had always been on the fence about ghosts. Sure, I'd had a few strange experiences that gave me pause, but I always found some way to explain them. Maybe it was my imagination, maybe just a coincidence. Deep down, I always had doubt, convincing myself there had to be a logical answer. But after that morning, my perspective was never the same. We were feeling tired and a bit hungover. We had a small breakfast and decided to sit in the hot tub before going outside. I put my dog in his crate and locked it. It was Halloween and snow was falling heavily, covering everything. It was so peaceful, so quiet. We stayed in the hot tub for about 15 minutes, enjoying the snow and the warm water. Then I thought I heard a loud bang coming from inside the cabin, and my dog's barking echoed through the cold air. We jumped out of the hot tub, grabbed our towels, and rushed back inside. As soon as we stepped into the kitchen, we froze. The room looked completely wrecked. Every cabinet door was wide open. The fridge and freezer doors were hanging open too, and items were scattered all over the place. Pots, pans, and food had been thrown around. The bar chairs were all flipped over. Drawers were open, and pans had been tossed off the shelves. Martha's phone, which had been charging on the counter, was now unplugged and lying on the floor. I couldn't think of any explanation other than something paranormal. My dog looked scared, but there was no way he could have done this. He was still a puppy, not big enough to cause so much damage, and he was locked in his crate the whole time. Before we went outside, the kitchen was a little messy from the night before, but nothing too crazy, just some dishes in the sink, a few things out of place. But when we came back inside, it was a completely different story. The kitchen was destroyed. Everything was tossed around as if there had been a huge fight or something had gone wild in there. I knew Martha couldn't have done it. We went outside together and there was no time for her to mess up the kitchen. There was also no way anyone could have broken into the cabin. We were in the middle of nowhere with no other houses nearby. And it was snowing heavily. If someone had walked up to the cabin, we would have seen their footprints in the fresh snow. But there were no signs of anyone else being there. The hot tub was right next to the long driveway that led to the cabin. We would have seen if someone had driven up. There's just no other explanation for what happened. Now both Martha and I believe in this kind of thing. I'm sure my dog saw something strange too. After everything that happened, we left the cabin quickly. But believe it or not, I stayed at that cabin several times after that, and nothing strange ever happened again, so I couldn't help but wonder. Maybe Halloween stirred up something, and maybe the spirits just wanted to be noticed, or a fabric, or a her. I'm in my first year of graduate school, and for the past 3 weeks, a classmate has been giving me compliments. The first time he simply asked for my name, but then he kept asking again and again, saying things like, "Your name is Scarlett, right?" Even though my name isn't Scarlett. In front of the whole class he once called me Scarlett, then laughed and said, "Oops, I keep calling her Scarlett for some reason." He acts like he doesn't know my name, but somehow he remembers everyone else's names just fine. It feels like he's pretending, and to be honest, it feels disrespectful. He also tries to sit next to me every time, which is hard to avoid since we have all our classes together. During the second week of class, he asked for my name again, then looked at me while playing with his hair and asked, "Does my hair look good?" I said, "Yes," politely, then went right back to my work. The most recent thing happened during our last class. I was wearing a dress that showed a bit of my neckline, and I noticed he kept staring. When class ended, he rushed across the room to my side, leaving his backpack behind. The room is small with a big table in the middle, so he had to push past other students just to get to me. I was clearly trying to pack my bag and leave quickly, but he stopped me, right in front of everyone blocking my way. He asked my name again, then said, "Your dress looks nice." I thanked him quickly and left the room before he could say anything more. I wanted him to know the conversation was over. As soon as I got out, I called my friend and told her what had happened. I felt uneasy, worried he might follow me home, because I usually walk to school. Over the next few days, his behaviour didn't change. He kept finding ways to sit near me, even if it meant awkwardly moving seats after class had already started. He'd ask questions about my notes or assignments, but most of the time, it felt like just an excuse to talk to me. Then one day, he was waiting outside the classroom when I arrived. And that was it. I couldn't take it anymore. So I went to my class teacher and explained everything, how he wouldn't leave me alone, the constant comments, and how uncomfortable it all made me feel. My teacher listened carefully and promised to handle it discreetly. And within just a few days, his behaviour changed. He stopped approaching me, stopped hovering around. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again in class. It wasn't easy to speak up, but I know now it was the right thing to do.